Hello, my name is Mariana, and today this is a reading for Aries. So Aries, as usual, I'm doing this reading with my own tarot deck, so the cards that you'll see are from this deck. So Aries, I am so glad to see the message that I'm seeing here, and I'm almost like giddy to the point that I feel like the incentive, the little guidance or advice that it's coming through, and I want to say your own inner voice to yourself, or it might come through as an advice from like a really good friend that you you really feel like they embody, in a sense, your higher self, your higher wisdom, and they say specifically what you need to hear in the right moment, because they're not, and it's almost like they're not appearing in your life. It's almost like they're sending you some sort of thought that is entering your mind, and it feels like your own thought, like your own voice. But it's like this really helpful advice, because your message today, actually, let me start showing the cards, because it's very funny, to be honest, and it really lightens the energy, lightens the mood, because it seems like you're worrying about something, and it might be something very tangible, like, money and work and livelihood and stuff like that, like in the level of the mundane. But what this Page of Pentacles was telling me, was showing me, and it was almost like pointing at this card as you, Aries, but like giving you this possibility or this new perspective about yourself, to look at yourself in a way that is light, that is it's almost like it brings no heaviness, it removes all of the weight, because it's a page, right? And page is like, the page energy is this very infant energy, right? Is this childlike energy. But being the Page of Pentacles, what this card came with the message of was, it might not be a big deal, but it might be helpful, right? So maybe it's not a big deal because it's just a page. Maybe your problem is not that big of a deal, but listen to what I'm saying, because this might be helpful to help you with the situation, right? And I feel like this is the overall message for you, right? Maybe this is not a big deal that you're experiencing, Aries. Maybe you feel or you think that it is, but maybe it's not. And I want to say it is a pretty big deal, but the message is, focus on what you're receiving as this advice. Maybe it's not a big deal, and this might be helpful. So this message, this guidance, this advice might be helpful to give you a new perspective on what it is that you might feel like maybe you don't have the expertise, maybe you don't know the path, maybe you lack experience or preparation, right? Maybe you feel unprepared because of the page. But again, it wants to emphasize the fact that if you remove all of the responsibility or all of the weight, or maybe just the need to resolve this right now, and just play with it, it's like, again, listen to the advice of your inner voice, this person that is embodying your higher wisdom, and just look at this as not that big of a deal, right? And just accepting that this might be helpful, that whatever they're bringing, whatever your inner voice is telling you, might be actually helpful to deal with this. And so another page, right? The Page of Cups. The other page is actually shifting gears, just in terms of it's the same character, right? It's like if they were pointing at you to like what you are doing now, what you are dealing with now, and where you are with this Page of Pentacles. It's almost like this inner voice is saying to you, Aries, remember when you were just, this spontaneous kid, when you just felt like this love for the world, for everybody, because the World card is here, and this is where the big deal comes back, right? Because it is a very significant shift in your entire world. But if you approach it with this perspective of looking at this world where you're standing right now, but with the same selfless type of love, right? Just like a kid. It's like you will be able to love the world, love your world, love where you stand in the world, just as you did when you didn't have this much responsibility, right? Or maybe you didn't understand that the world is such a big thing, right? And it's like there are so many different things happening at once. It can be very overwhelming at first when you understand like this, you know, when you feel like this tiny little insect, right? In this wild forest, for instance, as an example. So, but again, it's like, so the insects have been like really present in my personal life, right? Just as simple symbols and, you know, this language that the divine is communicating with me. And if we think of insects, it's like they're so tiny. They can be so not seen and not perceived, so invisible to most people. And yet they're so remarkable. They're so incredible. And that's the thing, right? The message of, you know, don't treat this that you're going through right now as a big deal. Yes, it might be a big deal, but don't treat it as such. Treat it as if it's not a big deal, and listen to this advice because it really can be helpful, to the point that it reminds you of a moment in time when you were just loving the world for what it was, right? And it's interesting because the impression that I had when this shift happened, right? And then, you know, if here you're concerned with something that is very palpable, that is very tangible, that is like, you know, this pressing issue in your current financial life, for instance, it's like switch this gear to a perspective where you didn't have that concern, you didn't have to think about that, and that it's like you just had time, space, freedom to love the world. And this world back then could be just your mother or your father or your family, right? Or your friends at school. It's like it doesn't necessarily need to be the world at large, right? It's almost like this. It's like your entire world as a kid, as an infant, as a baby. It's like your mother is your entire world, right? Your family is your entire world. Your house is the entire world. So that is the perspective. It's like, go back to this moment, because I feel like it's going to progressively and gradually give you this, it's almost like this sense that you can handle this, that you can handle loving the world, like dealing with this pressing issue, but without being overwhelmed or feeling like you are unprepared, because the Knight of Cups is coming next. And I feel like it's the same you, right? But in different versions of maturity or different versions of how you are perceiving the world. And it's not, you know, sometimes I see the helmet or the shield as something that is creating this distance or creating this boundary, right? To face whatever it is. But right now, for you, Aries, specifically, because you are remembering, and this is the advice that you're receiving, you are remembering a phase where you didn't have the concern that you have right now, but you could still love the entire world, because it's a matter of perspective, right? What is your world? And it's like you don't have to think about everything, right? It's like you don't have to resolve the issues of the entire world, right, with what you have at hand. Maybe you have this concern that you wish you could help more people, you know, you could reach more places, you could use your resources to resolve, you know, wars all over the world or poverty in the rest of the world. But it's like, if you take this approach, you take this advice and take this approach to go back to a moment where you didn't have this kind of concern that you are experiencing now, and you just loved your world, loved those that were part of your world, and how it kind of planted a seed in you and built like this, again, it's not a shield, but it's like a way of looking at the world, right? Which is based on love. It's like this love lens of just being capable of finding reasons to love the world, love your world, love the others that are part of your world, right? And how this, it's like this has shaped who you are as a person. And this is what I was talking about, like, you know, your place in the world. Here, it's almost like, you know, a child maybe doesn't have this awareness of like this individual, right? Of being an individual in the world, right? Because their world is pretty much their mom, their dad, their family, right? It's like the individuation process, just like Carl Jung calls it. It's like it happens when you are growing up. But here it is, it's like you are this conscious individual, right? Now you are grown up. Now you are this, I was going to say sovereign being, but I was just, you know, it's like you're on that journey, right? Maybe you don't feel like a sovereign being yet, but it's like because your core is very pure, it's very, like your essence is love. So that remains untouched, that remains unchanged. And because of that, the way that you look at the world, at your world, whichever scale it has, it's like it really helps to approach any sort of situation, any sort of pressing issue with love. You see what I mean? So even if you do feel unprepared, even if you do feel like you are too naive or too unexperienced, or, you know, maybe too, not hopeless, what is the word? Impotent, right? It's like helpless. Like when you feel like you want to help, but you feel like you can't. It's like, allow this advice to remove that thought that you are helpless, because actually what you can do, and it seems like you are, and the shift is great, right? From the first card to the last, it's like you feel like you are going to have the means, the ability, the maturity to get there, right? To be able to help others in your world or the world at large. Because after this Knight of Cups, we have the Five of Cups. And what this Five of Cups is talking about is imbuing the earth beneath your feet with love. It's almost like allow all of this concern, all of this preoccupation to drain from your body. Because what I was seeing, it's almost like, you know, when you are in the shower, but you're still, it's like you're underneath all of the water, just, you know, going through your body, and it's cleansing you. But the moment that you feel cleansed, it's almost like you are, it's not just the bodily feeling, right? It's like this emotional feeling. It's like the cleansing of your soul, the cleansing of your feelings. And that's how I feel like you are, it's almost like that's how you take all of the pressure, all of the weight of this situation that, you know, might be overwhelming you unnecessarily so. Yes, it is a big deal. Again, I don't want to diminish that. It's the world, right? So it's the end of the major arcana journey. So it's a big deal, but you don't have to see it that way, because if you do, it's like it's going to overwhelm you. So approach it as if it's not a big deal. Allow all of this concern to be drained, because the Five of Cups, it's like, again, it's like imbuing the earth with your emotion. And it doesn't need to be concern and preoccupation so that you get rid of it. It's not in that sense. It's in the sense of you remembering this phase where you were able to love the world in such a natural, spontaneous, free-flowing way, and how that really made you who you are, right? As the Knight of Cups. So when you remember that, it's like you see that you are exactly in the right place. And if you look down, because that's how I was seeing, and maybe that's just, you know, an image that is coming through in a bunch of yoga classes that I'm giving, and whenever I'm looking down from Tadasana, the mountain pose, it's like, you know, I envision this image of, you know, all of the waters in my body like going down to my feet, and then like just nourishing the soil, right? It's almost like I am feeding the soil with water, right, from my body, from my consciousness. So this is how I'm seeing this Five of Cups. It's like this ability to nourish the earth beneath you. It's like the soil that you're standing upon, right? It's like your world. It's like this is where you are meant to be, because with this love heart, it's like with this heart activated by love, it's like you are able to do so, and it's effortless, right? That's the thing. It's effortless because it's who you are. It's who you've become. It's how you were growing up, how you were raised, how you were educated, how you just evolved naturally, right? It's like your essence. So it's like allow your essence to drop through your body, but then it's like nourish the soil. And I feel like it really brings quick results is what I'm hearing. And I was going to say just results, but the word quick wanted to be introduced because the Four of Wands, even though it's not the Eight of Wands, which would be, you know, this very fast energy, being the Four of Wands, it's like it's half of, you know, the Eight of Wands. So it's almost like half of, you know, this quick result coming through, manifesting, but is still a reason, there's still a reason to celebrate, right? The celebratory energy of the Four of Wands, right? The 1111 message, which, you know, to me, just you know, a good friend of mine just reminded me of the significance of that. So it's here, right? It's here, the 1111, which is wonderful and so incredible. So pouring the earth, pouring the place where you are with love, it's going to yield all of these reasons to celebrate, right? It's like, and whatever it is, it can come in so many different forms, Aries, but I feel like in one way or another, it comes in the way that answers your prayers or answers your concerns, right? Because we're ending with the Queen of Pentacles, and we are, you know, seeing the shift from the Page of Pentacles, which is what maybe you might see, like the, you know, that you are in a situation that you don't have the capacity to deal with it, or maybe you don't have, you know, the maturity or the responsibility or whatever it is, right? It's like you feel like you are underprepared, but you're not, because you're remembering exactly what brings you to where you are. And because you are where you are, being who you are, just exuding all of this love, because this is how you look at the world and you approach your reality. It's like you're being reminded that if you just do that, if you pour in the love, it's like you're going to have reasons to celebrate. And it's like you're going to feel the shift in terms of how you see yourself. So yes, it might not be a big deal, although it is this shift from a very small mind, in a sense, or a restricted mind, to one that is abundant, right? It's like this abundant perspective, this abundant point of view, like you looking at yourself and valuing yourself, like acknowledging that you are worth being where you are, and you have reasons to celebrate that, celebrate your life, celebrate your accomplishments, whatever they are, however they look like, in whichever form they're coming to you, right? Even if it is exactly how you asked for, right? If it is in terms of, you know, financial abundance and all of that, but it can be in so many different forms, right? And you realizing that, it's like it's almost like you go beyond maybe the expectation that the result would only come in one way, right? Because here it's like you're seeing the abundance in different forms. And it's interesting because the card that is at the bottom of the deck, it's the Empress. So it's like this very beautiful and prosperous, like way of seeing how you are doing, right? Or just acknowledging where you are, acknowledging your growth, acknowledging your process of just understanding that you are so gorgeous, Aries. It's like you're worth so much, right? So I am going to pull more cards for you, as well as the astrological runes in the extended reading. So if you want to join me there, I'll be very happy to see you. You can find the link down below. If not, I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.